Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Babalani?
Here.
Dr. Hayes?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We've all had a chance to see the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Support.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Approval of minutes, the regular meeting of May 1st, 2017. Any corrections or additions? Others need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion, we approve minutes regular meeting of May 1st, 2017.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Approval of manifest 2017-10, the amount of $351,282.54. Mr. Menegini, any comments or questions?
Yeah, I got a couple here, Doc. On page 1, under Police Department, what's this, investigate, interview, interrogation, $795?
That's training for that course.
Oh, okay, and this, the Kleiman is the new officer, one of the new
Yes.
officers? Okay,
Yes.
and I have one other thing here. So far, what's been our total cost on getting the old bar? I know we purchased it and then we had the
It's,
abatement and all that. Do you have just get me a total for it. Dave.
okay.
And one other thing, just a comment here. I see under the electric department, we're paying mileage for our apprentice there. What's the going rate per mile now? 51, 52, 53 cents? Do we know what that is? 53 and a half. Okay, don't forget the half. Okay, that's all.
Well, that's the IRS.
That's the IRS.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like,
Mr.
I haven't
Babalani,
used it.
Any questions?
I had I had the first question Lee had, and I got another one here, Doc. WPPI on the 4th page, just for information, I see we got $21,728 in return in surplus power sales. That's all I have.
My question was already answered.
Mr. Pop,
I have none.
we need a motion to approve the manifest.
I make a motion, we approve manifest 2017-10 in amount of $351,282.54.
Support.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Anyone in the audience like to make comments on any agenda items? When we are in public hearing, we'll take comments then. If not, we'll go, at the end of the meeting, you can make comments on any subject. Next, we're going into public hearing on ordinance 400, Hanbury Lake gas-powered motors. We need a motion to go into public hearing.
I make a motion, we go into public hearing.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
I've asked Mr. Anderson to make a few general comments, and we'll open it up to the public for anyone to make comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was asked at the last meeting to organize a public hearing for review of ordinance number 400, which is the gas-powered or the elimination of gas-powered motors on Hanbury Lake. This particular rule has been passed forward from when the county took over or developed the park and made the boat launch. They implemented this rule, and I believe that was in the mid-90s or late 80s or early 90s when this happened. When the city was given the park a number of years ago, it was decided to continue that policy, and so ordinance 400 was developed. This ordinance basically, the waters of the state are regulated by the state, or our waters in Michigan, all waters are regulated by the state. So in order to have an actual watercraft control order, you need to go through public hearing with the DNR. But because we operate and control the public access, we can mandate some rules off of that public access. So this is the rule that we've put forward, that no gas-powered motors would be used on the lake. Was asked at the last meeting to consider opening that up to a level of gas motors, and so that's where we're at.
I now invite anybody in the audience to come forward, state your name and address for the record, and make any comments you'd like.
Yeah, I'm Earl Franklin from Vulcan, and I'd like to make a few remarks on this here deal here. I've been fishing on Vulcan Lake, well, Panbury Lake, we used to call it Vulcan Lake, I found out what its name was. But anyhow, it's been doing that since about 1969, myself and my family. I think it's a good deal that you guys got a hold of it now and everything. There've been some nice changes there. It's been cleaned up and well appreciated. But I don't understand why you want to go back to gas engines on there. I have a 16.5-foot boat with a 25-horse motor on it, and I have also electric trolling motor on there, and I use that exclusively. I haven't used my gas motor since this rule was put in, you know. And I've seen other people do it, and I've talked to them about it, and they seem to agree. So the deal is, to back up there, you got a real nice area down there, a nice park. I used to have my fish fries there. We do family fish fries, family has run for 27 years. And I used to hold them down there, and now I go over to the big pavilion because it's got pretty big, you know. And of course, the beach has been let go for, not since you guys had it, but prior to that. And I think that would be another good thing to worry about instead of putting gas engines back on there. I see a lot of boats out there. Most of them all got electric motors, and those that do have gas engines have them on the back, and they're not running. And it doesn't seem to be a problem. I called Ray about it here a year or so ago, and we talked about that. He said, if you see anybody out there, get their boat number. All the boats are registered. They all got numbers on them. Call us and let us know, and we'll look into it. And they were going to do some kind of violations on them, you know, fines and that, and hopefully that would work. But I haven't had to do that, so I think that the people are used to the way it is now, and I don't see us doing any more. You're going to roll your shoreline. You only have one home on there, but you got a lot of property on the other side of the boat landing, and I think you ought to think about it instead of just letting it go. You know, so if you manage it, I think it's up to you guys, not the state. The state drags their feet on so many things that you'll never get it through anyhow. By that time, summer will be over, and you'll be talking about it next year. You know, so I'd like to see it stay that way. At least think about it a little more than, I have one complaint. The fishing pier that was started there last year is a good thing, but there wasn't much thought put into it because you put it at a boat launch. And even though you have electric trolling motors on it, you still have to put your boat in and take it out. And it causes a lot of misunderstandings with people when you're coming in with your boat and a guy with his family and his kids are all sitting there on the pier with their lines in the water, and that they all have to pull everything out. They're not happy. And some of them don't even listen when you ask them, you know, they'll do that. But you just bite your tongue and go on. So had you made that fishing pier in a little different area than the boat launch, would have been better. It was a good Boy Scout project for that young fellow that does that. I understand that. But if you need a suggestion on where to boat launch, or I mean the fishing pier would be, you might think about using the old boat landing. It's just down a little bit further down from where the boat launch is now. And you've ever fished out there. I don't know. I've never seen any of you guys on the water there, so maybe you don't understand. You know, but anyhow, that would be a good place to stick a pier out there. That's my only gripe about it, you know. But I'd like you to think a little bit more about it, a little more than you did about the fishing pier. Because you combined it, you put a nice metal one out there, it's really nice. But two deals are in each other's way, you says no motors. A lot of the folks that I do meet out there, hey, you got a motor on it, you're not supposed to have a gas motor on it. Well, I was under the assumption that you're not supposed to use a gas motor on it. I can't take my motor off, or if a guy comes down with a bass boat, wants to catch some nice bass. Place is fluent with fish. It's a beautiful lake. I've been fishing there since, like I said, '69. I've never run out of fish. Most of my fish that I use for my fishing, I come from that lake, believe it or not. So what keeps them in there, I really don't know. We don't want to get rid of them. So I've got grandkids now that I take there, so.
Do you have any input on what you think we should do down at the beach area, being we're gonna be,
Well, I think it needs to be redone, for sure. That was a big
Yeah,
draw.
that's in the plan. We plan on this
but I mean,
winter.
anything
There
special
used to
that,
have- There used to be that heavy plastic, it looks like, you know, what they use at the, I think it was taken like where they, make your, landfills and that heavy material. They would put that out in, not get all the weeds down. I don't know how to do it, but I've seen it there, especially since it's been let go, because now the sand is all eroded from it and everything, so now you can see what it looks like.
The plans are to excavate the beach this coming winter.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Well, that'll
So
be-
hopefully that'll be fixed up. And thank you for the input on the fishing pier. That was through the Recreation Department that was put there, but it sounds like we need to maybe possibly relocate it.
Well, maybe then you gotta talk to them. I don't get a chance to go to all the meetings and that, you know, but, if I buy a Chevrolet at Era, and I got a problem with it, I go to Era, that's where I bought it, I don't go to General Motors, you know, so I came here tonight because you guys are,
Consider it. Thank you very much.
you guys pay my bills, you know, my taxes, so that's why, so you come, you people. But, if that helps with that idea, I appreciate it, you know, and, I will keep up the good work. It's taking a little bit, but we got a lot of junk that was dumped down there, and there wasn't nothing under it for quite a while, until you guys took over, so it's appreciated. And it's never loaded with boats. And, you know, the times have changed. 30 years ago, you could put 9-horse motors out there and tell people, you can't do water skiing, you can't jet ski on it, you can't do that. Once you put the gas motors back on there, the whole world has changed in 20, 30 years. You know, attitudes, respect for everything. So, years ago, Wisconsin started a small lake deal with 10-horse motors only. Mercury come along and made a 9.5, but you could pull a light skier with a 9.5. So, you know, there's always somebody that's going to stick it on. Right now, all the fishermen I talked to out there, happy, like a couple of them, they said, hey, how come you got that motor on it? I said, I'm not using it. You're not supposed to have it on it. It says no motors. Some common sense. You know, a guy, like I said, goes out with a bass boat, he's got a 150 horsepower motor on it. He ain't gonna take it off and set it in his trunk while he goes fishing. But if he keeps it out, you don't use it, he's not pretty.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Milton Arch in Norway. I can reiterate many of the things that he said, but I just like to say you've got a beautiful little lake down there. I spend a lot of time down there in the summer. You see a number of people kayaking down there who enjoy it greatly. You see canoeists down there who enjoy it greatly. And I think if you're gonna start putting boats out there with wakes, you know, I talked to Mark yesterday, you know, he said, well, we've limited to 20 to 30 horsepower motors or 40 horsepower motors. You couldn't even get a 40 horsepower motor going full blast to go across that lake. I've got a 16-foot boat with a electric motor. At most, it would take me 10 minutes to go across the lake, from one, you know, east to west. 5 minutes to go north to south. So I think you've got a beautiful lake down there. It's nice and clean. Those people in kayaks and canoes, they love it down there. And I think if you're going to let motorboats go down there, that it would mess things up. So I think, as the gentleman said before me, let it alone. I think it's a beautiful, pristine place. It's almost like going to Canada. It's so nice and quiet down there, and there's not many places like that in Upper Peninsula. Thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Mel.
Thank you.
I'm Donna Hayes from Norway, and I just would like to agree with
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you, Donna.
Hi, I'm Linda Peterson from the Dickinson Conservation District in Kingsford. I just kind of like to speak on the issue from an ecological standpoint. Recently, I'm sure you guys are familiar, we've just wrapped up a grant project to complete a management plan for Hanbury Lake, as well as several other lakes in both Dickinson and Menominee counties through this project. We were able to study the lake for 2 years, look at the vegetation, the shoreline, the surrounding area, and just kind of assess the health of the lake generally. And Hanbury Lake is a great lake. I mean, honestly, compared to a lot of lakes in the area, it's quite healthy. It's got a solid aquatic vegetation community. I believe size-wise, in my personal opinion, it's not a large enough lake to facilitate large gas motors. You know, what's special about it is that it's such a rustic lake. It's not developed. Most other lakes in this area, I think there's maybe 1 or 2 others in this entire county that have the same sort of characteristic. I'm thinking, you know, Norway Lake and Felton, Kearney Lake, you know, the north part of the township. So there's not a lot of these sort of rural rustic lakes like this. And of its size, ecologically, wake from, you know, gas motors can have impacts. I think one of the gentlemen before had mentioned erosion. While most of the shoreline is heavily vegetated, which would help prevent a lot of that, there are sections of the shoreline that could easily erode, which could lead to more infestation of the cattails that are present there. Several of those infestations are actually a non-native species of cattail, so that's why they seem to take over so aggressively in a lot of those areas. And, you know, increased erosion and disturbance, that's kind of what those non-native species prefer. So that would increase those, and they are difficult to get rid of, you know. As you're saying about remediating the beach area, that will be, the challenge there will be the cattails, honestly, and keeping those from moving back in. But it can be done, for sure. You know, another aspect to look at is the loon population that inhabits Hanbury Lake. They have been found for, there's a mating pair on the lake that's been present for several years, but they do have difficulty reproducing and rearing a chick to adulthood. Some years they're successful, most years they're not. Whether or not, you know, there's lots of factors that go into that, obviously, but introducing gas-powered motors would just introduce another source of disturbance to them. It could chase them off the lake entirely, moving them from this area and that ecosystem, which does benefit the fishery in some aspects as well. So those are just some of the reasons there. In our management plan, we really don't touch on any of the benefits or the pros or cons of the ordinance. We do mention that it exists and such, but we don't really go into detail there. But that's just kind of my opinion on that. So thank you very much.
With the loons there, would motors be outlawed anyway for part of the year?
Yes, there's distance restrictions, and there are, because the nesting season for loons goes until July 15th, I believe, so there's, you know, any time of year you have to stay at least 100 feet away from loons. Within the nesting period, there are several lakes that do restrict motorized use. I think on Hanbury Lake, that might be a consideration due to the size. You know, you wouldn't really be able to avoid a nesting population on that size of lake. So.
Do the electric motors affect them? Any kind of a motor affect them or not?
The biggest effect is electric motors, not as much because you're not getting the wake and that sort of disturbance of their nesting areas, especially, you know, Hanbury's got a lot of those marshy edges to it on some of the ends, and so those can fluctuate a lot with wave action. You know, pieces of those might even break off and kind of start floating around the lake too. That's something that can happen. One of the biggest disturbances really, and it can come from anybody, you know, canoers, kayakers too, is just getting too close generally. They're very anxious birds and they will, you know, they get very stressed out just with proximity
The other lakes you were talking about, Norway Lake and
Yeah.
another one, they don't let motorized vehicles on them lakes?
Kearney does, but it's, it's a bit bigger. It's 40 acres bigger than Canterbury Lake. Norway Lake is comparable in size.
How big are motors on Kearney Lake?
You know, I don't know off the top of my head.
That's okay.
The access there is DNR, it's a DNR landing. It's quite difficult to get to, it's quite the trek out there. And then Norway Lake is just restricted to, electric motors as well. And that's in Felch Township.
Is that about the same size? That's bigger, right?
Norway Lake's about 55 acres, so it's a little bit smaller.
Oh, it's smaller.
Yeah. But it's comparable. Canterbury's about, it's pushing, I don't know, I think it's around 75 acres. And then, Kearney Lake, I mentioned, is, about 120. So it's a bit bigger. And Kearney Lake's a nice, you know, it's a really big, long lake, so, there's
Would
a
you
little
say
bit-
Norway Lake was?
Norway Lake's about 55 acres.
Okay. And then you said 75 for Hambury?
Somewhere around there.
Okay. No, I won't,
Yeah.
just approximately is fine.
Right down to the acre, you know?
Right, no. Thank you, I really appreciate your
Yeah, and
input.
thank you very much for letting me give my input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to make some comments?
Gerald Carter, 615th Avenue. I just want to reiterate what everybody is already saying on the motors, that I don't believe we should have them out there. It's a nice quiet lake, it's nice for fishing, and if somebody's out there in a canoe or a boat, and they're trying to fish, if somebody's going by them with, creating a wake, it's gonna disturb everybody and the loons. The other thing, this is probably not the time to talk about it, but is the fishing pier that we put up. The reason it's in the place it is because of the access, and it is handicap accessible, so people can get on it. And when the pier is completed, there will be plenty of other room for people to fish out there except for straight out from the dock. So this is a work in progress, so it is.
Thank you for that input
Just
too.
the way it is right now, and that's the way it's gonna stay.
Mhm.
So we are looking at making it better for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Darrell.
Anybody else in the audience like to make comments? Anybody else like to make comments? Council?
Personally, I believe this proposal should have started at the Recreation Committee or Planning Commission level instead of coming directly to the council, but that's no big deal. I talked to some fishermen, and I swear this one guy got gills, he does so much fishing, and he said, if we do, which I'm against, going with gas-powered motors, you should never have anything over a 10 horse. Now, Nagani just turned down the proposal to put gas-powered vehicles back on Teal Lake. They went, I guess they actually voted on it, like 69% of the people said leave it the way it is, no motorized boats, and that's a 466-acre lake. Now, if they want to keep that pristine, I think we can keep our little lake down here pristine also. Originally, I believe the thought behind it was, well, we can open it up and maybe it'd be an economic benefit. But maybe we should just push the fact that it's strictly for kayaks and canoes and stuff like this, and it might become a destination spot. And then we would have an economic benefit. That's it, it's my feelings.
I guess I appreciate everybody's input. I was thinking the other way originally, but now I can see that we have a nice lake and we need to preserve it like it is. I was going by some of the people that had approached me. They had thought that the fishing would improve, and there was about 5 people that came up to me and talked to me about it, but I guess I'm on the other side of the fence now.
I appreciate everybody coming out here tonight. I mean, I think the few of you that came up and spoke about this lake gave me great input on it, where I'm looking at it too, and I have to agree with you, all of you. I think we should keep the motors off of there.
I also think we should keep the motors off, keep it the way it is, keep the public happy. and reserve it.
And it's not just our lake.
Thank you
it's
for who spoke.
Everybody's lake.
Thank you for everybody who came up. That really helped.
Any other, in the audience like to make any comments?
I wanted to mention one other thing too, as far as conservation, that, you know, for years, we've been keeping an eye on our loons, that we have out there, family of loons every year. And they're there only because of the quietness of that lake. You know, they're very touchy. If they touch one of their babies, they'll leave it alone. They stay way in the back, but they're out there during the day and that. And, you know, there are just a few things that you should take into consideration. So it's not just sportsmen. It's something they should be proud of.
Doc, also, I agree with Lee. I mean, I agree what Mark was saying before, economically trying to get people to come in here. You know, we're fixing it up down there, and maybe at some point too, we advertise. You know, non-motorized, great place for kayaking, canoeing, and that might bring some people in too.
And just as a part of our city, I think we've got something special and we wouldn't want to lose it. Personally, I would be adamant that we shouldn't have motorized. So we need a motion to go back into open session.
I make that motion to go back into open session.
Support.
Was that, Mark, did you support?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
And I don't think we need any vote or anything on that.
No, because it's just a...
So what number 8, approval of USDRD sewer collection project monthly pay request. Mr. Anderson?
The next two items, the pay requests for the water and sewer projects, we're gonna see these on a monthly basis. So, the next pay request will come they're gonna come on the second or the third week of every month. So this is the standard procedure that we need to follow.
Do you need separate motions?
You need separate motions for one for the sewer and one for the water. The sewer has two projects, but I believe this is just for the collection.
Yeah, there were no invoices or anything for the waste. But there will be.
Need a motion to approve the sewer collection project monthly pay request?
I guess I'd like to make just a general comment. I see that Mead and Hunt has the inspection costs in there for $12,548. I still find it ironic that the inspection, there's no liability, that they're not held accountable in any form. I know it's part of the contract, but I still don't agree with it.
So we need to move forward with the pay request, one for the sewer and second is for water, for the water project.
Is there a motion?
What was the amount, Ray? Is
For
it
the
one
sewer,
for
the sewer project
35,000?
is
It's not in here, yeah. I didn't
The
see
sewer's
one.
not in here.
The
It
sewer's
just
not
says
in
the
here.
water's the
Just
first
the
one.
water.
It's on the,
I think it's after the water.
Yeah,
It's after.
The reports are flipped around.
cruise next one.
Should we do the water project first?
You can do either one.
Okay, I'll make a motion, pay request in the amount of $35,594.52
Support.
For the water distribution?
for the water distribution.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Now we need a motion for the sewer.
I make a motion, we approve the sewer collection project payment request in the amount of $59,252.50 and the authorized rural development to release the necessary funds so the city can make payments.
Support.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes. Approval of KPE Power Engineering proposal for miscellaneous annual engineering services. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This particular item is an annual request from council. We use Mr. Krause as our electrical engineer throughout the year for miscellaneous engineering services. We put in the budget $7,000 each year. Last year, I think, to date for this fiscal year, I think we spent something in the order of $1,700. So it's not something that's used that much. It's just that if we need to have something, it's available.
Rather than waiting for a meeting and approving each request, I think this is a good idea, it's something we've done.
Yeah, and this does not include project engineering. So if there's a specific project that we want him to look into, we would have it come here anyway. This is for, a good example was we had a request come in for solar panels, and we have an engineering review when they tie into the system. And so we sent him the drawings, the maps, and he took an engineering review.
In that type of a project, is that paid for by the person that's doing the application?
No, not typically.
No. Okay.
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that KPE be approved to perform miscellaneous engineering services for a price not to exceed $7,000.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Approval of Coleman Engineering Proposal 2017-18, web-based GIS posting. The list of costs are in our packet that we're sharing with the outlying communities.
Yes, this is something we've done. The last request we had for this, we had a 3-year agreement. We're going to be putting this on a 1-year agreement, and mainly because within a couple of years, we're looking at, through the SAW program, having our own hosting capability. We're not quite sure when that's coming, so we decided to, let's move this forward on an annual basis. So we're requesting approval for $8,600 for the Empower GIS.
I guess for the record, Ray, I'd like to state, have you state which portions are refunded through the other communities adjacent to us?
Yeah, what we've done is we have Norway Township, Waseda Township, and Brighting Township that come onto our system. And with each township, if they were to go on their own, the cost would be about $5,000. So it's economy of scale. So they're paying us $2,000 a piece to go on.
That was 1,200.
No, it's $2,000 is what they're paying us.
So what is actually our portion?
Our
out of
portion-
this 8,600?
Our portion is 4,000.
Okay.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion to approve this.
I make a motion, we approve 2017-18 Empower GIS web hosting by Coleman Engineering to be approved for a price not to exceed $8,600.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Approval of the MDEQ request for voluntary access to city property to conduct soil sampling.
This particular request, this is something that I received a couple of weeks ago, and it actually is, it was initiated by the DEQ, and back in the mid-90s, mid to late 90s, the city performed what they call a Clean Michigan Initiative, a CMI grant, and I believe that was through the DEQ as well. But that was to remove gas storage tanks, underground storage tanks. So there were a number of tanks removed. I don't know exactly what year it was, 97, 96, somewhere in that time frame. This is a follow-up that the DEQ is doing now, going back and just doing some sampling to make sure that everything is still okay. I reviewed this request with Grant, and Grant, if you had any further comment on it, but it appeared that in looking at the rules and regulations for the state, that they could actually come on site if we said no.
That's the ironic part, Ray. I mean, just,
Oh, they're gonna do it anyway.
well, under the, that's, they're giving us a courtesy of allowing us to consent to have them come to the property, take a look, and just make sure we don't have any leakage or any environmental issues. But when you do look at the, I think usually it's referred to as the LUST, it's the Leaking Underground Storage Tanks under the Environmental Resources Act. They can just ask a court for an order to come in and look at it anyway. So being the good environmental stewards and also the statutory ability for them to come in anyway, seems to make sense just to allow them to come in because they're probably going to do it regardless.
And I didn't want to sign an access form. I wanted to make sure it went in front of everybody so they understood what we were doing, so.
We need a motion to approve the request.
I make a motion, we approve the request for the enter of the private property from the MDEQ to be signed by the manager or the mayor.
Support.
Mr.
That's access to city property.
Yes.
You said private.
Mr. Babalani?
Consent to, it says consent to enter private property. It's city property,
Yeah.
but it doesn't say city in the recommendation here.
Yeah, that's the word, language that comes from their form.
Okay.
So it would be our property.
Okay.
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mr. Brew? Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
It's only twice now.
Twice.
Next would be approval of special events application for St. Mary's and St. Barbara's Church.
Yeah, this is a procession, Eucharistic procession that the churches have been doing for a couple of years now, and they're requesting permission to do this on public streets. The route is given to you, and so we've approved this and pretty much on an annual basis now.
Any questions, or we need a motion?
I'll make a motion to, for the special event application for St. Mary's, St. Barbara's churches.
Support.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Would anybody in the audience like to make a comment on any issue? Come forward, state your name and address for the record, and limit your time to 5 minutes.
I think it was 25, 30 years ago, a large group of people got together, raised all the funds, and built a beautiful playground on city property. At the time, my kids were in college, so I don't know exactly why I got roped into looking down there, but it took about a week of very hard labor. And all the funds were donated, all the labor was donated. I didn't have a lot of time to use it after that. I did take my classes there when I was teaching. It's a beautiful facility. I now have 4 grandchildren that live just on top of it. And I am appalled at the condition of the playground. And I'm not talking about what most people tell you about the splinters and the broken things that can be fixed easily. What I'm talking about is the structure on the bottom. When we built that, it came with a mandate that we were to put, I believe it was almost a foot of special wood chipping for safety. Those wood chips are like such a mess right now. I mean, all those pipes underneath there that the kids can talk through are exposed. The fabric that was laid down there to hold the chips is showing, which means it's not gonna hold up. It needs a massive amount of chips. I talked to Ray a few years ago, and he did get some, and I believe it was around the summer help, whatever, put it around, but it was like a Band-Aid on a gaping wound. You know, there's a big mound of chips, and they sprinkled them around here and there. They weren't put under the slides where the deep ruts are. They weren't put where the kids are wearing away on the playground, and I really whatever you need to do, I'll do to help, but it does need to be taken care of. I hate to see that playground destroyed. And in all honesty, if somebody fell off of one of those swings and hit what's nothing underneath it, we would all be liable. That's the bottom line. I mean, if we have to think about that, it's kind of sad, but.
And I agree with you, Donna, because, I mean, so many people use that park. So many, and there's so many young children down there. And also having a grandchild going down there. It is pretty run down. And there is an abundance of people who use it, and it needs to be taken care of.
And people have volunteered. Groups have gone down there and I think, from what I can understand, sealed the wood, repaired the holes in the fence, whatever. So, but the chip thing, I know there's specific chips we have to have. It's not just like you can take the one off of my husband's wood pile and put in there.
Right.
But they do, it needs to be thick. It can't be a sprinkling. That isn't gonna do anything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience like to make any comments on any issue?
5 minutes.
And limit your time to 5 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, I can do it under 5. Partial Slide, 215 ground. I don't know if anybody, I know Ray's aware of it, but we had Mr. Martell's environmental class come down. Over the winter, down the creek from the Holy Spirit Bridge to the city building, or where Wise off there, a lot of trees really fell this winter, and it was backing up the creek and everything. So the environmental class came down, and we spent Wednesday from 8:30 to 1 o'clock cleaning a lot of the dead trees out of the creek. We had 2 girls actually in the creek pulling out. We brought out 2 big bags of garbage. I was amazed, because I walk there every day, and I did not realize the garbage that was in that creek. We pulled out a boot. They pulled out a boot. They pulled out a desk. There was all kinds of stuff. So I think it's important that, you know, we acknowledge the good work they did. And I wish that class was there again next year, because from what I understand, they're discontinuing it, because this class really did a lot of hard work. It was all girls besides. So they went in there and cleaned it up, and the water flow is pretty good now. There's still some more work to be done. But I also think that when you come into town, I've been through a lot of places going out east, and when you come into a town and they have a creek, it's nice and clean and there's flowers and it really is attractive. And I would really like to see eventually how we can do that with that creek. I mean, if you go by Bruce Hawkinson's place and you go by Marvin Collar's, it's manicured, it's really nice. And I think we could do
Marvin,
that.
you're talking about Marvin.
Oh, that's not yours? Oh, I'm sorry.
You're talking about Marvin mostly.
Okay. But I think we could do that there, and that way, and also, I know on the Parks and Rec, we're planning on possibly setting up some benches there, because we had to clean out some spots where there were a lot of fallen trees. And this way, the people that are walking and when they come from Evergreen on their scooters and stuff, they have a place that they can kind of go sit and watch. Because there's a lot of wildlife there. There's a deer in there, there's ducks in there, there's all kinds of stuff. So, but I just wanted to let you know that the environmental classes, you know, some of our city workers did that. Right now it looks a mess because we can't get behind part of it to clean out the branches because of all the pipes and everything. But you can just see if you walk down it on the inside on the walking trail, how much better you can see in there and how much cleaner it is. So if you see anybody from, you know, the environmental class, please tell them, you know, thank you. They really did a nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I request the manager to send a thank you letter to the parties involved.
We sent it today.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the audience like to make a comment? Does Bruce want to give us? No, I guess not.
But what I will tell you is at your next meeting, I'd like to just give you a little input and status on our budgets, on the inspection budgets and the rest of the budgets and where we are with that and how all that works. Just as you know, not a long thing, but I'll get everybody up to date on some numbers and stuff. But everything's going reasonably well.
Anybody else in the
Did they
audience?
blast the other day? Was there some blasting the other day?
They blasted down the wastewater treatment plant.
'Cause I had a lot of people talk to me from the school, they were asking what was going on, because they
Yeah,
felt it inside
matter
the
of
school.
fact, I ran into, what's the guy who got the easement from Ray that I never
Oh,
met?
Don
Yeah,
Pokovich.
I ran into him at the gas station, and he must have worked nights, and it woke him up at 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
My wife felt it at our house.
Well, that's what
I was down there when they did it.
my kid said, something happened, there was an earthquake or something. I said, no, there must have been just some blasting from going on.
Well, the last one they did was quite a whoop. It, the whole ground came up about 6 feet. Boom, and down. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Whoop,
Yeah.
WHUNFF.
Okay. You think.
That was good.
Anybody else in the audience like to make comments on any issue? If not, Mr. Menegini, any comments?
I got a couple comments here. Today is National Police Officer Day, and technically it's National Police Officer Week. And a little history, in 1962, President Kennedy signed a proclamation which designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which the date falls as Police Week. The Upper Peninsula hosts a UP-wide event in different locations each year. This year, the ceremony will be held in Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan on the 18th. And as everyone knows, in 1971, we lost our police officer due to tragedy. So everybody keep that in mind. And the other thing I have is we have the citywide rummage sale this weekend and the Paul Lambert Golf Tournament. So it's going to be a zoo. Please drive carefully, especially you hit some of these streets. I mean, it's a zoo. I know it depends a lot on the weather, but just drive careful. That's all I have done.
Ray, we didn't see any reports for the Public Works in the packet?
Right, there was none in the packet, so I'm working with him to get that report in.
Okay. There's several dead trees that look like they're gonna fall over the walking trail by Strawberry, just down from the playground area. Update on, Lee had mentioned the Wabar, the habitat, are they gonna be actively coming after that fairly soon, that lot for us?
I hope so. I've been back and forth with Nancy a little bit about it, so.
Okay. Was kind of disappointed last week. They sprayed up by the Norway Spring. And I watched one of the guys spray, and about 15 minutes later, another person from the Parks and Recs drove over there just to put the flags in the ground after the other one sprayed. And I don't understand it. I don't understand why the person that sprays doesn't put the flags in. You got somebody following them around putting the flags in. The water leak on 6th and Saginaw. It's still over there leaking. I know it's on the schedule. I also find that confusing that they were planting trees instead of working on the water loss that we have over in that area. I thought that that should have been a priority versus when we went to the automated meters, we were trying to recover water loss, and that leak has been running over there for probably a week and a half.
I don't think they're planting yet.
They were hauling trees up the hill the other day. I think it was Friday. They were going up Valley View with the front end loader
With the
and
brush.
trees in, no,
No, they're
there was trees in the,
probably delivering trees then.
yep. How are we doing with the GPS and that electric truck, the boom truck?
Yep, I'm waiting on Rick to clear up his schedule to get it in.
Okay. I'm in belief that that truck is still going to the hydro on a daily basis. I'd like you to check up on that. That's all I have.
I have a few things, Doc. The FDS project updates that are in our memorandum,
Yeah.
is that from Jesse?
Yeah.
I like to thank him for such a detailed
Yeah, he does
and
fantastic.
understanding of what he is doing down there. I think that's great that we got that information. And I think he does a super job at explaining that, what he's doing. I'd also like to say it's nice to see the school and the city working together. I'd like to see more of that. That's great to get the kids out and and see them work with the city. Then I also would like to, with the Strawberry Lake, does that go to Parks and Recs, or is that for us to look at?
Parks and Recs.
Okay.
We had a inventory of all the maintenance that we needed to have done at the parks. So we just got the list from everybody, I think at our last meeting, so we'll be going over that this Wednesday.
Yeah, because that's probably something that you guys really, I mean, this is just my opinion, you're gonna need to look at, because I agree with Donna, that, you know, that needs to be looked at before somebody gets hurt or whatever, so. Also, I'd like to thank everybody coming out tonight, to give your input on Hanbury Lake. Sometimes sitting in this position, we don't have the information you got. And with people from the public coming out and giving us information, it's a lot easier for us to make decisions up here. And it's, you know, we don't get a lot of people here, but we do represent the citizens of this town. We might not always go with exactly what, you know, some people's opinions are, but we are here to represent you, and I appreciate every single one of you coming out and giving your input.
Will there be a decision on that, or is that going to stay the same now with no gas motors on the lake? You just vote on it, or?
We did not vote on it, but pretty much consensus of council was to leave it as it is.
Okay, first meeting I've done, so I'm not used to all this.
I agree 100% with Candy on that. Thank you to the public for coming out. Are you done?
Yeah, go ahead.
Also, I'd like to thank the police department too. My son lost his bike a while ago, and I got the phone call, and somebody returned it. So thank you to them for making the little kid happy. Another thing that Lee said is, please be safe this weekend with the rummer sale people. There's people that don't look twice when they're crossing a road or driving bad. Just please be courteous to everyone that's out there. Another thing is a reminder to citizens that the local dumpsters in our town are not free for everybody just to dump in. It's illegal for dumping into dumpsters. I was out at Marion Park yesterday, and 2 different vehicles pulled up to the dumpsters out there and dumped on their own. And the city's got to pay for that. You got the dump, or the garbage comes around once a week. Just put it out in front of your house. Or else we even have something over here, don't we, at the city garage for a dumpster
That's for
Recyclable.
or recycled?
Well, they have
The rubbish.
fall.
But I've also
fall
seen it.
cleanup.
I see people just drive, if I'm sitting in a parking lot at Pat's, people are just driving up and dumping into the dumpster there. That's illegal. Just reminding folks about that. That's all.
Get license plates.
I have one more thing too. Are we gonna have, we're definitely gonna have some roads blocked off, right?
Oh, out by Forest Drive, we are every year.
Right, and then what about where the projects are? Them are gonna be all blocked off?
They're either gonna be secured or blocked
We
off.
talked about, well, you were there.
I was there.
We'll probably talk about it again tomorrow.
Okay,
They even talked about not working Friday,
yep, that's,
because everybody realizes it's police starts Friday. But they're gonna be really take extra precautions for, you know, barrels and where they place equipment and stuff, but there's still gonna be roads that are gonna be able to be got on.
okay. Well, my reminder would be to people, please, if the roads are blocked off and we're working on them, please don't go past the blocked off signs. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments, Mr. Pop?
That's it.
I was wondering how we're doing with our automated meters. Are we going to be able to use those as automated meters fairly soon?
Well, we're
do
using
the
the ones
things
that are
were
installed.
promised?
We're using the ones that are installed. And,
I mean, all the parts, you know, where we can give people differential rates. So we're going to go to the electric board for that, you know. They use more power at night, maybe they could
well, that's something,
lower rate.
yeah, and that's something the council has to decide in its rate, rate study or rate resolution. At this point, we don't have a tremendous amount of meters out there, but you could put the rate in if you so choose, and then we could do something with the, we would install that meter at that house if that's what they choose. Just like in our budget hearing, though, that there was a discussion about whether that's actually where the market is going. The rest of the country is, they're kind of moving away from the time of use rates, and they're looking more at like we talked about, having some kind of a demand. If you have a high user, you pay for what you use. It's not so much when you use it, you're paying for a high amount. And so you're the one that's putting stress on the system.
Well, you put stress in the system if it's used during the day. At night, it's not putting any stress in the system. We're selling power then, so I'd like to do something to encourage people to use more of their power at night when we've got extra power, and we can certainly sell it to a customer more than we can sell it to.
It's definitely up to the council. If they wanted to move forward, I mean, you could do it right now with what we have. So
Well, I think we need to put that before the utility board and have them make a recommendation. But I'd certainly, if we've got the meters and we're putting them in place, why not use all its capabilities? To have it and not use it doesn't make any sense.
See, I think it's more important to take care of the high user, or to deal with the high users, because they are penalizing your average using customer, correct, Ray?
Well, if they use it during the day, but if they use it at night, they're not penalizing it. I think they're supporting the system.
But you're looking at giving breaks to the people that are off-peak, and you're not looking to recapture the people that are penalizing your average energy user.
We can do both. I think we need to encourage off-peak usage, because that's when we've got extra power. During the day, we pay a premium for the power that we buy, so if we have a high user that's buying power during the day, we're paying a high peak, and so those people should be penalized or pay for that. But if we have a high utility user at night, we've got extra power, we're selling power to WPPI, at least this time of the year. That it makes sense to me that we sell it to our customers, we'll make more money if we can get people to use their power at night. Maybe the utility board can discuss it and come forth with some recommendations. I was wondering whether it would make any sense, since we're renting portable toilets periodically, would the city be serviced? We dispose of all the waste that are used in those portable toilets. Would the city be wise to purchase a couple of toilets to have for various events? Just a thought. I'm not certainly looking for any kind of motion, but just something to think about.
I think we got a hard enough time maintaining a lot of the parks and stuff, and I believe that would probably be under the Parks and Recs. I think we should
Well, it's just more
concentrate
for
on.
special events where we have an event and we rent, a few toilets here and a few toilets there at different times during the year. And again, it's not a well thought out plan, just something to think about. Anybody in the staff like to make any comments before we end the meeting or go into closed session?
No, thank you.
Mr. Anderson, any comments?
What's the metric conversion of a WUMF? I have no comment.
We need a motion to go into closed session. There will
Make a motion to
be
go into
no,
closed session.
there will be no business after the closed session meeting tonight.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
There was no support, was there?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Babalani?
Yes.
Dr. Hayes?
Yes.
Would you like that?
Mr. Paul?
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, Earl.
And I haven't fished down there in 60 years. So you're right, none of us have been down there. I haven't fished down there in 60 years.